Now, as we take a look more closely at this process, we can see why so many students are disappointed. Every year I deal with students who come to me and they applied on their own. They didn't really check out too many resources and they thought it was going to be relatively straightforward and easy to do. But once they got into it, they found out it was more challenging than they thought, but they went ahead and submitted their information anyway. Now, the approach that we take at Ivy League by Design is based on my 25 years of experience working with Ivy League applicants and Ivy League Plus applicants who have been successful. I have an enormously high success rate because my students design well put together programs that show how they are different than other candidates and what their value added is to the process. Now, students who do not know what they're doing just go ahead and apply a package and hope for the best. Now, in some ways, this is even true for MBA candidates who have coaches who help them, because you really have to ask, how much individual help am I getting about telling my story? And so what I want to cover here for a few minutes is what students generally are missing. And there's a great deal of frustration because obviously from the numbers, the majority of students are rejected. So how do I make that movement, that jump from being accepted, or being rejected rather, to being accepted? Now, there are 8 key elements that you need to design to work in your favor. And if you don't have these under control, there is absolutely no way that your application package is going to have the coherence and the connectivity that it needs to make an admissions committee go, wow, we want that person, because that's what they're looking for. Now, the first element in your design package is telling your story. Most students do not know how to tell their story. They do not know what they need to do to share about themselves that is important. Because remember, for a regular graduate program, they ask, tell us about yourself and your job. They want to know. Or at an MBA program, they ask, tell us how our school is going to help you in your present situation. Well, part of that is helping them see how you got there. Story is important. Second, your brand is important. When you tell your story, what is the brand that emerges? Who are you? What are you good at? What are you able to accomplish? They are absolutely interested in what your capacities are, because from their standpoint, they want to determine at the Ivy League graduate programs and at Ivy League Plus whether they can really help you. You as an applicant think, well, of course, the Ivy League school is going to help me. But they don't think like that. They want you to put 2 and 2 together for them and help them see how their program, how their school is going to help them. Now, that leads to our next category. Story, brand, and strategy. You must develop a strategy of how you're going to deal with the schools. For example, if the University of Chicago is going to be more analytical and be looking at numbers, the same with Wharton, you want to be sure and focus on a brand that includes an emphasis on your mathematical skills. If you are a marketer and looking for a wonderful marketing program, then Kellogg may be the school for you. But your strategy must reflect that focus, and they want you to help see that. Now, in addition to these more strategic issues, there are a number of components that we also have to have under control. Now, these are our elements that we're going to be dealing with. First, your essays. If you're doing multiple essays, you must have a strategy for answering them, how you organize them, and what is the material that's most valuable to answer those essays. It's the same with the statement of purpose. You must have a structure for your statement of purpose. It is not a resume. It is a story, telling a story about who you are. Now, equally important to your essays and your written material is your curriculum vitae or your resume. Now, the resume plays a significant role in your application process because it is a way, a method, a path of strengthening your brand. You are going to be sharing material, both your road to responsibility and your metrics of how you have progressed in your job. Your number one goal, apart from being accepted, is for an Ivy League or an Ivy League school to see that you have global leadership potential. They are not educating bean counters. They are not educating someone who's going to be sitting in front of a computer in a factory. They are looking for business leaders. And in this leadership capacity, they are looking for a global perspective. Our job is to convince them that you have that potential, partially because you've been doing it already. Now, in addition to your curriculum vitae and your essays, another significant part of our process is our letters of recommendation. Now, the letters of recommendation cause a great deal of confusion and a great deal of difficulty, especially for my international students, because a letter of recommendation can have different implications than it does in the United States or in Great Britain. It can be more problematic and more social. Now, the object of the letter of recommendation is to be realistic and based on your actual practice and work. You want to avoid grandiose terms. You want to avoid anything that talks about you being the best, and you need to coach your recommender on this. Now, there are a couple of secrets to good recommendation letters. You will notice in every case now, schools want you or want your recommender to provide details. You need to make sure that your recommender provides clear details of something from your experience that illustrate your brand. In addition, they have to know what your goals are. So you need to talk with them and let them know these are my goals, so they can share that going to Harvard or going to Berkeley is congruent with your goals. Now, in addition to the letters of recommendation, the final element involved in your process is your interview. Now, when you talk about Ivy League by design, you also want to keep in mind your interview. But your interview is the culmination of everything that you have done in this process. And so when you go to your interview, you have already done the preparation. And that's the secret of revealing why you should go to a particular school. Because remember, it's Ivy League or Ivy League Plus by design.